What is going on, everybody? Hashtag Data Spartan and Happy New Year. Welcome to 2023. I am joined this week, super excited about this one. This guy really doesn't need any introduction unless you've been living under a rock for the past 10 years in the insurance industry. I'm joined by Bryan Falchuk. So he is the managing partner of Insurance Evolution Partners and president and CEO of PLRB. So Bryan, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Lance.
Yeah, awesome, man. So really what I wanted you to talk about was you've been saying some really interesting things around why point solutions need to coexist better. So kind of expand on that, just because I think it's a really relevant and interesting topic.
Yeah, and we've been as an industry deploying tons of point solutions over time, but I think especially in the past few years, just because we had to keep the lights on and keep processing business as, the way that everyone works was impacted by COVID and by lockdowns. And then there's just like war cry that point solutions are bad and we got to get rid of them and it's too messy. And I hear that, but I think the answer doesn't necessarily mean that you need to have a single solution that does everything. I think you'd be waiting forever for that. I think the answer instead is like, how do we tie these things together, and not just through APIs so they're more seamless, that yes to that, but thinking more about like, what did that point solution do in that point? What did you learn from the data that it's now created? Or maybe you had like disparate locked up information before, and now it's actually digitized data that you could do something with. You could process, think on, feed into models. How could you start to pull all of that data from all these different places together into your decisioning? And I think like that to me is the big unlock that all of these point solutions suddenly open up if we like start to think of them as a holistic source of better understanding of the risks we're exposed to and how we handle them.
Interesting. So in your opinion, why the disconnect? Like, why are things the way they are today?
Well, part of it is system constraints. For a lot of us, a lot of carriers, they're not on the cloud yet, or APIs are tough to work with. They don't have a great API suite, or maybe their people can't necessarily prioritize them, because a lot of times like an API project is a small project. Yeah. And small projects can be really hard to deal with because your capacity is taken up on the major things that you don't have a choice about, like regulatory changes, major system changes, et cetera. So we get in this place where well-intentioned, we brought in a tool that was like API-able, if that's a word, and we never get around to connecting it, right? Or we do, and it's maybe not the full-fledged version. We just sort of like do it good enough. Here are the 3 data fields they pass through, so we're not rekeying, job done. But that's like, that good enough is not really unlocking what could be. And it's like, I keep talking about, we're focused on efficiency. Yeah. And if you look at the economics of insurance companies, expenses are not the problem. Like, yes, we should care about them. We should keep them in check and all that. But we've invested so much in efficiency and haven't really moved the needle on the expense ratio at all. And it's not because we work with agents and brokers, because we've got direct players who are just as bad. The issue is on indemnity, on losses. And so the only way you get to that is making better decisions with better data in your underwriting and your claims. Yeah. And that's what's missing here.
Interesting. So if you are, watching this video and you're like, look, yes, I'm having these problems, I'm experiencing the same thing. What's step one? What's that kind of like bottom rung on the ladder that you kind of recommend people take?
Well, I don't know what people's development approaches look like, but if you haven't embraced agile for Americans, like if you haven't done that, you need to. That's like full stop. You have to start to work in a different way, shorter timelines, more specific to what you're trying to produce. Don't, spec everything out up front and get moving. Be more flexible about testing, learning, trying. You don't have to do everything at once, but you have to start making progress. Yeah. And lastly, for those folks who are holding out on the cloud, I just talked to a carrier today who's investing hundreds of millions in a new workbench on the underwriting side that they're going to feed into a relatively modern but on-prem core system. Yeah. And their reason was because moving their core system to the cloud was too big of a project for them. I'm like, but you're investing like hundreds of millions of dollars and invariably like 3 to 5 years at least to work around that. And you're still going to need to move to the cloud at some point. I don't get that. And we keep making decisions like that. It's like something's 100%. This is 98% as hard. Why would you do that? So I think, and I'm like, I'm a little bit tough about it, but I do think we have to stop being that way as an industry. We need to start pushing ourselves forward. And from the stories that I've seen, actually those moves to the cloud are not as bad as people thought they would be. And the payback, the unlock in what you can achieve is much bigger. So I would love to see more of the industry embrace that.
Interesting. No, that's super relevant, super interesting. Thank you so much, Bryan. So guys, hope you got some really good value out of it and learned something. I know I did. But thanks so much, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.